Unless specifically indicated otherwise, the content expressed are my views only and not necessarily those of Life Pro Asset Management, LLC. The content presented is in no way an investment advice, solicitation, or an offer to sell securities or investment advisory services. The material is provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. I cannot assure the accuracy or completeness of these materials. As such, the information in these materials may change at any time without notice. Reference to these discussions about IULs and annuities or fixed insurance products. Investments on fixed insurance products are different from investments in the stock market. Any guarantees provided by a fixed insurance product cannot be assumed to be guaranteed for any other investment.
Welcome to the Rock My Finances show on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV, where we put the fun in finance. Join Powerhouse Jennifer Jose, CDFA, CMC, and Private Wealth Advisor, as she collaborates with you to create clarity, control, and confidence with your money, your way. It's not about the zeros, so what is it all about? Let's find out. Now here's your host and weekly friend, Jennifer Jose.
Let's get ready to rock our finances today. We have a really good show for you today and an amazing guest. This subject is obviously near and dear to my heart once you know me and my story and why I'm here on this planet. And this is not the easiest subject to listen to be a part of, experience, support, all of that great stuff, but it's necessary. So please stay tuned, watch the whole thing, because of course we always have cute bonuses at the end, so you don't want to miss that. Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 different types of abuse. And I think so many times it goes undisclosed, maybe hidden. I don't know about you, but I'm a huge codependent and we like to sweep things under the carpet and pretend like everything's okay. And any abuse or dysfunction in a family creates secrets. And so that's the first sign, is when there's actually a secret and you can't tell everything that happens to someone, you know that there's a secret there. So we're going to talk about the 5 different types, and then I'm going to bring on an amazing guest who actually had me on her podcast as well. And she's going to share her story of one of the types of abuse. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Miss Bridget Gibson.
Hi, everyone. Yay, I'm here.
I'm so glad you're here. We love technical stuff, but I'm so glad you're here this morning with us. And I want to thank you so much for allowing me to share my story and myself on your show, Morning Soul Sunshine, right? Soul Shine?
Morning Soul Shine.
Morning Soul Shine. We had such a good time playing with Bridget that I said, hey, you got to come and do my show as well so we can have another good time. Now, we know that this is a touchy subject. It is a very important subject. Mm-hmm. As you all can imagine, Bridget and I basically live this, and this is our passion. So we know that we are here on this planet to help others. And so it's something that we need to hear about because we don't always know what's going on behind closed doors. So I want to just thank everyone for listening. Thank you, Bridget, for coming on and sharing your story and being who you are today. And we're going to have a great conversation. We're going to go back and forth and we're going to chit chat and talk. And we might not always agree and we might have experienced things differently, but let's go for it.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And oh my gosh, y'all, Jennifer was such a beautiful soul on my podcast. It was an honor for me to have her with me. And we're just so blessed that she was able to join us and tell us her story. And my goodness, we just pray for her and we pray for her family. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about domestic violence. Now, my experience with domestic violence was from childhood domestic violence in the house. So I've never experienced spousal abuse, but I did experience being a child in the home of seeing abuse. Now, as Jennifer was saying, there is 5 types of abuse. The first being physical, that's the most talked about abuse. But then there's verbal, emotional, sexual, financial. Did I get them all, Jen?
And spiritual. So I add the verbal into the emotional.
Okay.
And then the spiritual one as well. So yeah, go ahead and talk about your childhood. I didn't realize that was the situation. And I'm really want to be here to support you and really honor you for sharing this.
Well, thank you so much. So my mother, my sister and I, we were born out of wedlock. So My mother met up with this man that she had knew her entire life, but didn't really know him. He had moved away and married and had children. So when he came back to the hometown, he was very angry, and she didn't understand his anger. But he had a lot of issues back in where he lived. So she stayed in that relationship with him. And with them being together, I have two brothers and a sister. So it's five of us. So I remember a very angry man coming into our lives. I was two, my sister was one, and we were just happy, before he came along. My mom was happy, my sisters were happy, my sister was happy, and this man who came in our house, who was very angry, he was cursing. My mom began to be very afraid of him, walking on eggshells, and didn't really know what we were in. And so I'm just really just coming to terms with all of this. I blocked out a lot of it because I guess our subconscious, our mind can't handle everything. So we just block it out. But, lately I've been remembering a lot of things. And he was very verbally and emotionally abusive to her. And we were all afraid of him. So she began to work a lot, and she left us home with this very angry man. And he took out a lot of his anger on me and my sister. So we were abused as children, just merciless. And I remember um, one day she decided we're going to leave him. And at this point, she had my second sister. And so she was a baby. So I remember us being at the Greyhound bus station. I was about 5. And we were on our way. We didn't know where we were going. We were going to Arkansas. I knew we were going to Arkansas. But my mom had never left our hometown. We knew nothing about leaving family. We were always around family. And I remember us at this bus station, and she was scared. The baby was crying. Me and my sister was being a 5 and a 4-year-old. And there was this man that came up to my mom, and he said, "Look like you have your hands full." He said, "I'm going to sit right here next to you, and I'll watch your two girls." And I remember that so vividly, the fear that my mom was going through. And we're on our way somewhere where we didn't know where we were going. And so domestic violence, guys, it can happen to anyone. It
Well, we
can
got to
happen
know, girl,
to
did you get
anyone.
on the bus?
We got on the bus. We
Okay.
stayed at
It was hanging like that.
we
Y'all
got
got
on
on the
the
bus.
bus, but this wonderful man helped my mom and watched us while she took care of the baby. And we got on the bus, went to my aunt's house, but you know how the story goes. We came on back home and went right back into that situation.
Well,
And
we got to give your mom some credit for the balls just to even attempt it.
yeah, she tried. She
Yeah.
tried. And but she lived with him until he died 7 years ago. They were married. So
Wow.
they were married. I'm 57 now, and he died. So, all of those years they were together. And he
Did
did
he
turn his
also abuse the children that he had with your mom?
no, it was just me
Just
and
you
my sister.
guys.
Yeah,
Dang.
and he did turn his life over to God and became a deacon in the church. But you know how that is when you first he was just an angry Christian at that point.
Yeah,
But he
you
wasn't
can't change completely.
he was just an angry Christian. But over time, as he got older, he became nicer to her. And but she was still very nervous and scary.
I'm sure.
And so we kind of grew up with that same mindset of being anxious. And I went to my psychiatrist, not remembering all of this stuff because I had pushed it back.
Sure.
But she told me, she said, "Where do you think this anxiety is coming from?" And she said, tell me a little bit about your childhood. And when I began to tell her about my childhood, she was like, oh my gosh, you've been fighting and flighting your whole life. You've been running your whole life.
And then we create patterns, and we take those
Mhm.
patterns into our adulthood and into our next relationships and our marriages and parenting, even
Mhm.
at work.
Yes.
Even, when I see it, I don't mean to make light of it at all, but in the freaking car, like, people can be so angry in the car.
Yes.
It's like their own
Yes.
little bubble, and everything comes out who they truly are. So
Yes.
how's your sister now? Do you guys talk? Do you have a relationship?
Yes, we do. We all very close because since he's passed away, my mom now is 79, and my sisters, they take wonderful care of her, and my brother lives at the house with her, and I speak with her every day. So I've had to get over some anger and unforgiveness,
For
and
her not protecting you?
yes, and it was in different other areas also, and maybe we can talk about that another time.
Sure.
But but anger, when it comes in, it can turn to bitterness, and so a lifetime of just not understanding. But as I've gotten older, things are not as black and white as we look at them. There's some gray areas, and you wonder, why do people stay? Why did she stay? And so one day I asked her, I said, Mom, why did you stay with this man? She said, well, I had all of y'all. And she said,
Where am I going to go?
he
What am I
was,
going to do?
yeah. And she said, her family was like, you got all these children, you can't come back here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's no
so
way. Yeah.
so she just stuck it out, and she just learned how to live in that toxic environment.
So let me ask you, Bridget, you lived there until you were 18?
Actually, my grandmother, I moved in with her
At
at
what
the age
age?
of 15.
Okay, so you actually was he abusive that entire time?
He was still very verbally abusive, not as much physically because we were older. But then when he had became a Christian, it was that righteous anger.
Mm.
And
So it
so when
just
you have,
shifted.
yeah, so when the teenage years came up, it became very righteous.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do this and you can't do that. And so my grandmother needed someone to be in the house with her, so that was the excuse that society knew that
I
Bridget
love that.
that
Yeah.
Bridget was going over to stay with her grandmother because she needs someone to be in the house with her.
Was it just you, or you and your sister?
No, it was me. My sister, she just, it just caused so much different things to happen. When I left the house to stay with my grandmother, I became a very different person. I became even more rebellious, because
Why do you think that was?
I felt she didn't protect me. She didn't stand up for me. It
Your
was
mom? Yeah.
another way of just, okay, Bridge, just go stay with your grandmother, and everything is going to be more peaceful in the house. So it made it sound like it was always someone else's fault
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
his dysfunction. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad, I grew up in an alcoholic home, and there was not, whatever it was, dysfunctional the whole time. Never physical to me personally. Yes, I've seen my mom with a couple black eyes. But when I became a teenager, I just clashed with my dad completely. Like, and we would like get into it, like you said. It's like, and we are like, why are you still here? Like, we kind of start speaking our voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you how that you're calling it righteous Christianity, which we've all seen and experienced any religion. When they get, sometimes it's brand new into the religion. So we have addiction in our family as well. So when addicts move from one addiction to the next, and then they jump into religion, sometimes they get very righteous in the beginning, but they're just really trying to hang on to their sobriety.
Yes.
And if you understand that, then you understand, you kind of give them some space. However, it does come off righteousness when you're raising children. So how did that show up in your life as an adult? Like,
Well, as an adult, I'm still very, how can I put it? As far as church is concerned, I'm not very trustworthy of the church as a community.
so it's
I
not a
have
safe place for you.
No, it's not a very safe place. I've had other issues in regards to the church, but because of my mom being so afraid that he was going to go back to the person he was, she just basically took on uh another situation.
Yep.
So we moved from one dysfunction to another dysfunction, and he still was part of the dysfunction. So now not only did we have the anger, and he had gave up the alcohol, but it was just anger,
Still
and
violent though. It's
it's
still
still
abuse.
violence.
It's still,
Yes,
yeah, it just looks differently. As they say, it's just in another pair of pants, but it's the
exactly.
still same situation. Yeah,
And so
that's
she felt validated by the church. She felt that, oh, we finally have made it. I
or
don't have
something like
this,
it's given her any
or
type of a little
something like that.
reprieve. Yeah,
Yeah. And,
I
the
can understand.
community is not looking at us like we're crazy. So we're just so happy to be a part of this organization that's really controlling our whole life.
And he was a deacon.
And he was a deacon. And so, yeah, so basically she brought in another situation.
And did
She
he ever apologize? Know what he did? Ever talk about that at all?
She said the week before he passed away, he had been very sick. And he told her that he didn't know how she could have put up with him all these years, and that he really appreciated her. And when he would get to heaven, he was going to tell God about her.
Wow. Wow. That's heavy. So now for you as a grown adult woman, like I came out of my childhood as a huge codependent. I know that's a buzzword, but I literally did put everyone else in front of me, and I got pleasure from it.
Hmm.
So I enjoyed being there for everyone else because I didn't know who I was and what Jennifer was all about and what Jennifer even liked. And so I definitely had that as a way of life and keeping the peace. And like you said, walking on eggshells and just making everything right so that, and then gauging. So I can walk into a room and it's a strength now, but at the time it was just for safety, right? I can walk into a room and I can gauge what the hell's going on with everyone in the room.
Yes.
Like I know who's fighting. I know who's mad. I know who just had sex. I know who's going to leave tonight to go see with their lover. I know who's spending too much money, who's not spending enough. I mean, we pick up that sixth sense or whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
Just from living on those eggshells and growing up that way. So as an adult woman, it took me, into my 30s to realize that I needed to put myself first. And then it took me into my 50s to say it's okay for me to be loved and love and love fun and love joy and love money and love what money can do. It's been a journey. So tell me a little bit about your journey as an adult woman coming out of a dysfunctional, abusive childhood like that. How do you think that showed up for you?
I think it showed up for me two ways. So I have a husband that is wonderful. He's nothing like what I was raised in. But because of what I was raised in, I tend to overcompensate it's too much sometimes.
So
Are you okay?
pleasing? What do you mean by compensate? Are you people pleaser?
To be pleasing. Yeah, trying
Yes.
to be pleasing. And he's not requiring that. Same with my children. And it's like, Mom, just leave me alone. And they don't understand that's part of my personality. It's kind of like, well, let me do that for you. Is it anything I can do for you? Can I do this? Can I fix your supper? It's kind of over the top. And my sisters actually live with men who take advantage of that.
Of course. Yeah.
So,
We're all going to find that. So
oh
your
yeah,
husband and kids don't take advantage of that?
they can, they can. And when they realize it, they're like, "Mama, go sit down. You don't have to," because they're adults, you know.
But how does that make you feel? Do you get pleasure?
I'm starting to appreciate it
You're
because for
appreciating them saying sit down?
yes, because when they
Okay.
were younger, of course, they were loving it. Oh,
Of course.
yeah,
Well, they didn't
Mama's
know
gonna
any
do that.
different. Right.
Yeah, Mama
So
gonna
now let
do
me
that.
ask you, how does that show up in your money world, if it does?
Oh, it's whatever anybody wants. So if Chelsea wants, she's coming over and I'm cooking and, oh, Mom, I want crawfish etouffee and I want enough to take with me for the week, which I mean, it's not a problem. But anybody who know how much crawfish is,
Yeah, that's a little bit of an expense.
yeah. So, and that's just an example. But me, I'm gonna go overboard. So I'm gonna have crawfish etouffee for Chelsea. Then I'm gonna make a crawfish seafood pasta, and I'm gonna have, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yep, you're
just
going
way
overboard. I
too
love it.
much.
I really love that you know that about yourself now.
Hmm.
And so the first thing that I have all of my clients do, and it sounds very lame, but it's really great, is I have them write down 100 things that they love,
Okay.
because we have to love ourselves first. And I just kind of
Hmm.
have fallen into this, right? I've been married 3 times. I've
Hmm.
spent since 2000, I don't even know. It's a long time. I don't even know, almost 10 years now
Okay.
by myself, which I haven't been myself my whole life. And I've always been in a relationship. I had like 6 months in between here and there.
Hmm.
But this time I have been single and alone this last 10 years. I keep saying that
Wow.
I'm going to go buy myself my own diamond ring, because I literally have been in a relationship with me, and I've really gotten to know me and love me
Hmm.
and find out that I am worthy and all of that. And so these are just some of the steps that I did to find me
Okay.
and love me. And
Hmm.
I am not perfect. None of us are,
Hmm.
but I am perfectly imperfect. And I am okay with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we do not love ourselves, we accept bad behavior.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and we're not doing our kids, our spouses, our colleagues, clients, anybody, any favors by accepting bad behavior, because we're treating them how to teach us. We're teaching them how to treat us.
You're right.
So by you doing a list of 100 things that you love, I really want you to do that. And
Okay.
then I want you to do another list of your amazing skills and attributes. Like,
Okay.
how good is Bridget at whatever? And what you're good at doing, what you've accomplished, what's been really great in your life, anything. I want you to have those 2 lists that you can go
Okay.
to at all times.
Wow. I love that assignment.
Right? It's going to be so
Yeah, I
fun.
love that.
So next time someone asks you to do something, like your daughter, to make that dish, then look at your things that you love and add one of the things that you love to that.
Okay.
Like, yes, I will do that for you. And I'm going to light my candles at the same time because I love myself.
I love that. Yeah.
Good,
I
good. I love that. I love that too. Okay, so we talked about physical abuse. I know you didn't go into too much detail, but is there any detail at all that you want to share about what type of physical abuse for a child?
For a child, that was a child being a child and an angry person. Just you're getting on my nerves. I told y'all to stop. Get the belt. And I remember this room he would take us in, and we couldn't get out.
Mm.
And he would just beat us unmerciful, just
Oh, I'm so
it's
sorry.
just it's coming back to me more and more.
Mhm.
And I'm voicing it to my mother. And she's like, I don't remember that. Well, no, Mom, you didn't remember because you were at work.
Right.
And so I get angry when she does that because I feel like she purposely stayed working. So
She
she did
probably did,
so she didn't
because
have to see what
and
was
she didn't
going
have her coping skills and her support, and she did the best she possibly could. Of course she
on. Yeah,
loves you and loves all of her kids for
she
sure.
does. She
and
does.
she did the best she could possibly do. And as children, we're like, I can't believe you're not protecting us as well. Yeah,
Because I think about my daughter and my son. I'm like, what? I would, oh no, but it's a different time, I think,
yep. Yeah.
because back then, she remembered being a housekeeper. That's
yeah,
how she was, cleaning houses, and she was, God blessed her with a better job as time went on. But I think she probably was thinking, oh, I got another income. I can provide better.
yeah, for
I
sure.
don't,
And
yeah.
then I want to talk about the second type of abuse, which is the emotional abuse, because I think there's no physical without emotional as well. And we are groomed as
Yes.
victims. We're absolutely groomed. And so when you're on the outside looking in and you're saying, why aren't you just leaving? I don't understand it. People need to have compassion for that, because we literally are so brainwashed and so messed up, and they're so good. I don't even know if they know how good they are, but abusers are very good at bringing this on little bits and pieces on however you can possibly handle it for them to be able to get their way.
That's right.
And so we are screwed up emotionally, right?
We have to remember that most of these people have learned this their entire lives, so they're professionals at it. It just
Exactly.
comes natural to them. So they've been manipulating since they were little.
Exactly. And I know it's tough to have compassion for abusers or even victims that don't leave. It's very difficult to have the compassion, or would just, I don't understand. So then the victim gets judged instead of we just have to start with our heart and compassion, because we don't know other people's shoes unless we walk in them. And going through what you've gone through and what I've gone through and what other people have gone through out there, we literally cannot judge each other at all. That's the first thing we need to pick up your Judge Judy hat and get it the hell off your head, because you don't know if you ain't walking in their heels. Like, there's just no way. I mean, if you think about it, who would ever sign up for that on purpose?
No,
we just wouldn't. So obviously there's something wrong.
Yeah, and most of the victims, I don't want to call victims, the survivors.
There you go.
Of domestic violence. It comes from out of nowhere. Because if you were with someone who just punched you in the face, you wouldn't stay around that person. But this person don't come to you that way. They come to you loving and kind and handsome and beautiful and just all of that. But then over time, they become a different person.
And when they learn your weaknesses, they learn what makes, and everyone does that in every relationship. You learn what how your partner ticks. And when you learn that, and then they take advantage of it to twist it to where they can get what they need to get.
Exactly.
And I'm so glad you're going to therapy. I'm so glad you're getting help and you have support with what's happening. So now we've talked about the physical abuse. Emotional abuse is with everything, right? My relationship was just emotional abuse. So no one saw it. I didn't see it. I didn't realize it. And it was coming into it as a codependent already from a dysfunctional childhood. I fell right into a hugely manipulative, emotional relationship, because it tried it on like you try on the little black dress. Will it fit? Because that's what I was used to, right? So then we talk about financial abuse. I'm being a financial advisor that I am now. I literally have had so many clients, and it doesn't matter how many zeros they have in their account. When financial abuse is when you are stuck and you don't believe you can get out. I literally just had a multimillionaire thinking that she could not leave. They're in this $3-4 million home, and they have millions, and he has got her brainwashed to believe that she cannot leave because she'll have nothing, and she won't be able to see her children, and she won't have any money, And it's such a financial baloney that
Mhm.
that people are told. And it's more women than men on the financial abuse. So that's why I say women, but it could be either or.
Yes.
And it's just the one with the most money or making the most money or having the most control can control that person and make them think things that are absolutely inaccurate. I cannot tell you how many times, I'm a
Mhm.
certified divorce financial analyst as well. I cannot tell you how many times I've had people come to me with the craziest stories ever. And I'm like, that's absolutely not accurate. This is the truth. Now, between what they have told you, what the truth is,
Mhm.
let's meet somewhere in the middle so that your life isn't completely destroyed.
Exactly.
Right. So I like to meet with clients and help them before we get to the courts, because it could make things very disturbing with the emotional abuse and the physical abuse. And sometimes that's where they turn from emotional to physical, is
Yeah.
when you mess with their money.
With
Right.
the money.
So financial. Okay. So we have physical, financial, emotional, spiritual. I
Spiritual.
almost feel like you dealt with a little bit of that spiritual abuse.
I did, and I actually, it went a little bit farther than just at home. I had I'm gonna just say one of the official administrator to actually molest me,
Oh,
and so um, it was a lot going on.
oh honey.
So I that's where my distrust came from, as well as not being protected at home. So it was a lot.
A total lot. Oh my gosh, my heart totally goes out to you. Here you are trying to find some safety in God and having your relationship. And then you have another man that's going to abuse you, that
Yeah.
says that they're holy and they're good.
Yep.
And of course, you're going to have trust issues. Of course. I am so glad that you have an amazing husband right now. Like,
Yeah. God sent me an amazing husband
yeah,
because He knew the path He was going to put me on, and that's to help others.
yep. And so you need that support at home
Yes.
and help you through all of this. So it sounds like you have a good relationship with your own God.
Yes, I do. I do. I trust God. He has had to walk me through this. And I remember when He gave me scriptures as a young married woman to lean on. And at one point, He told me, I'm going to be your husband, you know.
Yeah.
And, and because, my husband, he was raised without a father in the house. He was raised to a certain point, and then he and his mom left. But he didn't know how to be a husband, a solid person. But
Sure.
because, I allow God to teach me how to be a good wife, I think that just helped our marriage. We've been married 36 years. And
Oh,
so, thank
congratulations.
you. And so I really believe by putting God first and allowing Him to lead me and lead us, I think that's where the success of our marriage have, come from.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you can separate the spiritual abuse to your relationship with God and know that you have that
Mhm.
separate, like you said, the church, the religion, the whatever
Yeah.
is
But
very
it took
different.
it was a journey
Oh, I'm
because
sure.
God had to walk me through trusting Him.
Well, and you had to show up.
Yeah.
You
And
had to
He
show
had,
up for that journey.
yep, and He showed me in so many ways how He loved me and how he was going to take care of me. And He
And this
told
is, and I'm going to call you on this, because this is what I feel like a lot of women do. You received it. I want to give you credit. Yes,
thank
God
you.
was there for you. God's always there for you.
Hmm.
But you chose to receive it and listen.
Amen.
You rock. You
Thank
rock,
you.
sister. You showed up for that journey and you said, okay, God, show me what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's right. And so that's why I'm here. And that's why I just every day, God is just giving me more and more to share.
I'm
And
so glad.
I'm happy. I'm really happy. When you're walking in your purpose,
Yeah.
that's the happiest place to be when you walk
It's
in.
a different feeling.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so all of that stuff that I've gone through, yes, it was very hurtful, but it was, it has made me the person that I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a friend I met, another God thing, I
Hmm.
call it, when you meet these people for random, like you and I met, right?
Hmm.
So this was like another God thing. And she was like in a cult, basically in a religious cult for a certain amount of time, 2-3 years or whatever. And when she was in college, and was completely abused financially, emotionally, spiritually. And she's on her journey to reclaim herself and her relationship with God, and trying to separate that from the abuse that she has been completely brainwashed
Yeah.
about, the Bible, the book, Christ, the whole thing. And I just want to honor the spiritual abuse that goes on there, out there a lot. And there's one more abuse that is probably the hardest to talk about, which you kind of already alluded to, was the sexual abuse, that you were molested. And so you are unfortunately having too many categories of this abuse, my love,
Yes.
experiencing too many types of this abuse. So
And
I
even as
noticed.
we're talking about it now, I never even looked at it that way. I do fall under different categories,
Yes, you do, my
not
love.
just one. Yeah.
You're the emotional, you're the physical, you're the sexual, for
Hmm.
sure. I don't know if
Yep.
the church took anything financially, but if they did, then you're
Oh,
hooked up
yeah, of
with the
course.
financial part as well, right?
Yep.
And if we don't dissect it now, do we need to dwell there? Hell no. But we
No.
need to look at it, dissect it, and put it where it belongs, and then move on so that we can help others. So on the sexual abuse, I know your website has sex trafficking or
Hmm.
human trafficking on it as well. What do you know or do, or anything about that harsh, horrifying topic?
Well, I've recently I've connected with a young lady who actually was in the trafficking. She was
Mm.
trafficked at the age of 15, and she actually stayed out until I think she's in her mid 30s. So she's been out of it about 8 years. But I had her on my podcast. But prior to that, I had went to this church here in my city, and they had a human trafficking, I guess, I guess, ministry. They did, and they would go to the schools and bring information to the high schools about human trafficking. And so I went on a cruise, on a women's conference cruise, and I remember going to the church administrative office, and I was like, look, can I have any brochures that you have so I can pass out at this conference? Because it was, the whole cruise was a women's conference. And they gave me all of this literature, and I sat down and spoke with them about human trafficking on a global level. And so, yeah, so I've incorporated not just domestic violence, but human trafficking in that, under that umbrella.
That's good. That's really, really good. I've been a member of Seroptimus
Okay.
International, and when we had our local chapter in the Bay Area, we were donating to a local charity there. That I just, I mean, we got to know our boundaries, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I couldn't even go there. Like, they would tell us a couple of the stories, and it's huge in Oakland, and it's huge in this little tiny town, Pleasanton in Dublin,
Hmm.
because of the international travel.
Yeah.
And I could not believe the horrific stories that they had. That's literally right down the frickin' street. And I feel like it's so horrific that we can't even
Mhm.
talk about it. So that means we don't know what's happening. And it's another shameful secret that we have. And so,
It's right in our backyards. We don't really even know it, that this is really happening. The young lady who was on my podcast, she told me of an experience. She actually was in a relationship with this guy. It really wasn't a relationship. He had groomed her for this. And so she thought that was her boyfriend. But what he was doing was he was pimping her out to his friends and telling her, this will help us get on our feet.
oh
So
my
she
gosh.
was the girlfriend that was being pimped out to his friends as they would come over. And then it turned from that when she decided, I don't want to do this anymore, to yes, you will do it. Then
Yeah.
the mask fell off and it was no longer, I'm your boyfriend.
Yeah. Now I'm your pimp and your master
And you're going
and
to have
your
to do it.
trafficker. Yeah.
And you're not getting anything for it.
Oh my gosh. It's horrible. And I know there's a lot of places that people can go now to get out of that and support getting reintegrated into life and society. It's not
Exactly.
like you can just walk out and go get a job. I mean, you're so messed up that we need support during that
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And we need compassion.
Think about the trauma that's related to this.
I mean, how could they ever trust anyone ever again? And especially have another relationship again? Like, they need lots of help
to
and
even get out
psychological
of
help.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I thoroughly enjoyed you here today, Bridget. I know it's a really tough subject, and I know you've made this your purpose and you're here to help others for sure. So tell us about your podcast. How can we find you?
My podcast is Morning Soulshine with Bridget, and you can find me on all your major platforms, platforms. I also have a YouTube. We have a website, www.mydomesticsilence.com. And and I'm
Good job, Juan.
Yeah, thank you, Juan. I'm posting the podcast I'm uploading to the website. So if you just want to go to the website and view the broadcast that I've done on domestic violence. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I did quite a few interviews on domestic violence in October. But it's
y'all, and I'm on there
round.
too, so you better go because my video is there too. So go see Bridget's website and check out my video. We got to share the love.
And next year, actually, I've partnered up with an organization. It's a church organization in Liberia, West Africa. And we last year had a teen dating violence conference. And there was 88 girls that attended. And all day they were fed, they were given gifts, they were given literature, and just spoke to so wonderfully. And this year, we're going to do the same thing in February. And I've also connected with the United Nations of Liberia, and we'll do a monthly podcast with the human rights officer of the United Nations of Liberia. So I'm excited.
Gosh, Bridget, you are international. Your purpose is
I'm so excited.
Growing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I so love it. And I am down to help in any way I can.
Oh, great.
So let's keep that conversation going. I think that would be amazing. And I did not realize that I had a boyfriend in high school that slapped me when he got mad one time. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, what the heck's going on? Yeah. Well, I immediately got out of that relationship, and then he said that he was going to commit suicide. Actually did. He tried to commit suicide. He was in the hospital. His family hated me. It was all my fault at that point. And that was my first experience of the physical portion of it. And then I fell right into it. Right. Yeah. It's just so heartbreaking. So I'm really glad that you're doing that and you're helping the teenagers spot it in the beginning, because as teenagers, we just want to be loved. We just want to be liked.
Exactly.
We just want someone to hear us, someone to pay attention to us and like us. That's all we want.
That's all we want.
Right. And if we haven't had that, we're going to do almost anything to get that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And in Liberia, there's such a high domestic violence rate as well as rape. Remember, this is a very third world country where everything pretty much goes.
Everything's tolerated.
Yeah. So we're really trying to bring awareness to these subjects.
That's great. I'm so glad you're going international. I really love your purpose. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I just want everyone, I know this is a real big, heavy subject, but I can tell you, after what I have experienced and, my 10 years of emotional abuse, my childhood of dysfunctional abuse, I was able to be with my father on his deathbed and say goodbye and love him for the man that he was.
Yeah.
And my mom's still caring for her. She's in memory care now. Still caring for her and loving her and being able to love myself. And even with the loss of my children, be able to be a mom again. And Bridget is an amazing wife, mother, family, friend. So we literally are amazing people when we go through hell like this. And so life is good. So
yeah, life is good.
Life is good. I'm going to finish up with a money question because you know me, I'm the money woman.
Okay.
So what is it that brought you joy over the last week or two that you spent money on? Something that you purchased or spent money that really brought you joy. It could be something minor, big, whatever. Anything come to mind?
A hat.
I love it. Tell me about your hat.
I love hats. So I go to the store and I'm like, I want that hat. It have pearls on it. It's a beret and it has pearls on it. And I said, I want that hat. And I said, you know, maybe I don't need that hat, but I want that hat. And I got it.
I love it. And it brings you so much joy, right?
It does.
So that's going to go on your 100 things that you love.
Yes. I love hats.
love my hat, right?
Yeah, I love hats.
I so love it. I love it. I love it. I love spending money to bring us joy and to get you to Liberia and to get your podcast out there and to buy these lights and the technology and our phones and everything to get our words out there, right? And to really bring us joy. That's what it's all about. And I love being able to share money with someone that I support. And I just had a new client. And I said, guess what? She's like, well, I'm like, you bought my couch. New coaching client. She's like, awesome. I'm like, it'll be here on the 29th. Like, I can't wait to show you my new couch. Like, right? It's just money is just energy. We just got to keep spinning it around to bring people
putting it back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so cute. And you're such a blessing. I honor you. I honor your story. I honor your history. And I honor your path that you're on now. And I'm looking forward to supporting you in the future, Bridget.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sweetie. Thank you. See you soon on Morning Soul Shine.
Morning Soul Shine with Bridget.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
We appreciate you joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to the Rock My Finances YouTube channel for more engagement and bonus content. Tell me, what is your money story? Let's find out with Jennifer, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, every Thursday right here on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV. It's not about the zeros, it's about the F word, feelings. Feelings Jennifer can't wait to explore with you next week. Until then, let's all say, I rock my